Hi and welcome to episode 4 of Honey the Photographer's here. Today we are here with Luke and myself, Pat, and of course the wonderful Lucy from Ian McNamee. This is a very interesting episode because it talks directly to an agent, which is who we serve every single day. And Lucy's very interesting in the way she operates, the way that we think about marketing, and the way that the whole conversation ties together from start to finish. So without further ado, let's jump into episode 4. Luke, do you want to introduce our guest today? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think she can introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Lucy. Thank you for having me on the podcast, for starters. I'm Lucy McGregor from Ian McNamee Partners, and I'm a sales agent in Jerrabomberra.
Very good.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.
So, just a bit of background on how Lucy and I sort of came to be.
Or met. That sounds like you're
came
married.
To be.
We had our wedding on the cliffs of Dover, yeah.
No, so a bit of a backstory. One of my other clients went to school with George Southwell, and George sort of said, "Oh, I know this girl in Queanbeyan. You should reach out to her. And she's pretty good, a young agent at the time. She'd be interested." So I sent her a bunch of emails and phone calls, and she ignored all of them. Do you remember that?
No comment.
I feel like agents never see their emails.
So then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to go to an open home that she was at, and we sort of got talking, and then I told her who she was. She's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen your name come up a couple of times on my phone," and ignored it. No, she didn't say that. And then, we just got talking, and then for those of you who've seen the testimonial we did recently with Lucy, she was talking about how she saw this house in Queanbeyan, this townhouse that was for sale, and she loved the marketing and that. And turns out that was my place, and the marketing was us, that we did it. So pretty much then the rest is sort of history, and we've done every project.
It's so funny.
Since.
I think at the time at the open home, I was kind of, saying we were pretty... The marketing we were doing at that point wasn't quite up to scratch. And, I was like, oh, if only it was like this house in Queanbeyan, that marketing is like unreal. And Pat's like, oh, actually, I did that marketing. So the rest is history. Yeah.
That's the ultimate sales pitch, when the person you're pitching to goes, "Oh, I see this project that you've done that I didn't know that you've done. It's so good. I wish I had more of that."
Yeah, that's right.
So and the rest is, and we've been together. Working together.
This is getting a bit romantic.
Yeah, I think so. Pat hasn't had much sleep lately.
It's a long day,
yeah, you have to forgive him.
So we've been working together now for 3-4 years.
Yeah. On every single project as well. Like you guys, Panorama's been really awesome for McNamee's, I think, because you cover kind of the full range of everything marketing. So we don't have to use like multiple creditors. You guys do everything. So it's been really awesome, and always to the exact same standard. Like there's never any kind of discrepancy in how the product actually comes out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and that consistency is really handy as well.
Yeah.
What was it like pre-Panorama? Having, like you said, having all those different vendors, or not vendors, sorry, but different people servicing the business. Like, do you find that the difference between that and just one solution that you can just like rest your head on and trust?
Yeah, well, it's really funny. I think that real estate marketing evolved a lot in a matter of like a couple of years. And the marketing we were doing before that was really kind of basic. So it wasn't bad by any means, but it wasn't anything kind of exceptional or didn't stand out amongst other listings on the market. And I think in a matter of probably, a couple of years, and probably around the time when you guys kind of came into our attention or focal point, that was when, you did sort of ultra, I'm not really sure what it's called, but the photos were really kind of contrast.
The high definition.
High definition, yeah. The videos on listings, CGIs and things like that weren't typical.
CGIs. You're the only agency that we know that calls them CGIs.
Oh, what should I call them?
Who taught you that? I want to know.
Oh my gosh, you're making me shy. What do you mean?
No.
So it's actually virtual staging. It's not called CGI. CGI is the 3D render sort of world, which is technically what it is. It's a 3D render, but it's called...
You're not wrong.
Yeah, you're
it's
not
essentially
wrong.
What we're saying.
Listen, I'll leave the terminology up to you guys. Okay? I just sell the houses, all right?
Yeah,
that's fair.
So with your marketing when it was back in the day, do you think it was sort of a combination of COVID times and just trying to shift because you came in, you were pretty fresh into Ian McNamee back then in terms of you knew you had the direction, but no one knew how to sort of get there. And it's sort of, marketing to that point, especially for a well-established company like Ian McNamee, it had been done for one way for so many years. And coming in with a young, fresh face to go, you know what, we need to shake it up. And I think that's sort of
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of that, but also, like you said, through COVID, I think there was more of a need for like videography and more detailed photography and a little bit more kind of emphasis on the marketing, because for a while there we were running like by appointment. I mean, we were pretty lucky where we were because we could kind of keep doing that, but in a lot of places they couldn't. And I think that like Sydney and Melbourne kind of came up with this really good stuff, which you guys brought into the Canberra market, or you know, other photographers as well, but you guys came to our attention, that has really kind of boosted the marketing. Like before it was like 8 photos and a floor plan, which was, you know, non-branded, nothing.
Yeah.
And now we've got a full different structure. So
yeah. And it's standard on your appraisals now. You sort of go in with a marketing campaign to actually do.
Yeah, it's part of our appraisal to pitch you guys as, you know, marketing experts and show them what you can do. So we run like systems and for our proposals where you can actually kind of send through like copies of other listings and photography and videography that's been done in the past for like similar properties. And, you know, that really helps us. So
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Plus the branding too, like makes a big difference to have even the floor plans branded. You know, it's just consistent.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I think sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I kind of feel like the whole like marketing that you guys have done, I feel like it's like heated seats in a car. Like you don't really think about it until you get them.
Yeah.
And then after that, you can never ever go back.
Oh, massively. 100%.
It's amazing how much of a difference it makes.
I see some of our old marketing and I'm like,
bury it. Yeah.
Anyway, I'll stop bagging it. But yeah, it's really good now. That's what matters.
Yeah. And I think it's this idea that we came in and helped you create this brand consistency overall, and that it's elevated you, not only your listings that are online, but your brand as a whole, because now you can pitch for more work because clients want to come in and know that their marketing is taken care of, as opposed to going to another agency who's just doing photos and a generic floor plan. Whereas you come to the Ian McNamee brand and everything is consistent, that you know that you've got all these channels that are taken care of, and having a partner like us know that it's all going to be done to a level of standard.
And it is a true marketing package, because you can kind of do a flat lay of all the items that you give us and they run together perfectly with our branding, and also the kind of style of property. So it's really good. Yeah,
cool. Well, thank you.
I don't want to give you too much credit.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're really blowing smoke up his ass at the moment. But he's put in the hard yards and it's all come together. It looks really nice. So I think having that brand awareness, I also think brings the right clients to you, right? I feel, you know, you might get a lot of tire kickers if your marketing isn't super on point. But I feel like if your marketing is really clear, concise, clearly very good, you'll get people who come to you who are serious. Yeah. And I think that also helps as well in terms of like just lead generation for agents.
Yeah, and McNamee branding, I mean, like the company's been around since 1976 and it's a big name in our area. So I think that pushing that out as much as we can is really good, and it's something we weren't doing in the past either. And I think you guys kind of brought that to our attention. So
I mean, the tactics have now changed. It's not like everyone knows everyone around town and you just go to an agent who is part of the community. You need to take that next leap and put it into the social world and the online world, and actually still be up with the trends, as it were.
Well, 100%. And with like sort of evolving real estate marketing, you kind of see there are trends, like you say, with like boutique agencies and things like that, which you kind of need to stay up to date with, I guess, to compete, kind of. But then at the same time, because we've got such a long-standing kind of relationship with the community, like just emphasizing our brand is just like probably the most important thing.
Just brand awareness, if anything. To know that you're still there and still number one, basically.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of almost like family loyalty in a way for Ian McNamee, because like there's a few times I've been on site and one of like the agent, like Darren, for example, knows the vendor and knows the vendor's mum and knows the vendor's like cousin who's turning up to help with the garden, and it's like, oh hey mate, how you doing? I was like, how do you like know all these people?
That's what I mean. And if you looked at like the combined experience of everyone in our office, it's probably like 85 million years of experience. Like not really, but that's why I think that branding is like really, really important, because we do kind of sit aside from like, and I'm sort of tooting our own horn here. I'm probably not trying to, but like boutique agencies, you know, fresh in the market. While the marketing's good, we've actually got, you know, 50 years of experience.
Yeah. And I think different clients will look for different things, right? Some people go, oh, like fancy, new, modern. They want to shake things up. And, you know, their marketing, like sometimes is a bit too edgy. And in some respects, depending on who the buyer is. But then you look at someone who's more traditional and you go, well, they've been around for a long time. They know what they're doing. I can trust them.
And you guys do that really well, I think, sort of maintaining the sort of brand integrity with the marketing as well. So not to say I do love a lot of those boutique brand marketing styles, and I'm a little bit jealous of some of them, but that's okay.
Well, that's next week's conversation.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
We can change things up at Panorama. It'll all just be like minimalism and no color. Yeah.
A whole different vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked a lot about, obviously, Ian McNamee being around for a little while. What's your lifespan of Ian McNamee? How'd you get started? I mean, you probably started before then. So what's your sort of story up until now?
Yeah, so I've been with McNamee's for 6 years. I was with Ray White before that. So I think in the industry in total, I've been just over kind of 7 years, somewhere between 7 and 8 years. It's a funny story because I was actually in uni at the time studying psychology, and like 100% confirmed that was what I was going to do. Like I was going to be a psychologist. I was like really committed. I was halfway through my degree, and I just started working at Ray White in Queanbeyan. And then I honestly don't know what really happened, but it's 8 years later and I've just kind of snowballed into where I am now. I don't have a psychology degree.
I was going to ask.
It was just something that I really loved doing, and it kind of just, it started off like I was on reception. I quickly moved on to property management. I loved that.
You loved property management?
Well, I loved it for a while, and then I was
okay.
introduced to the world of sales, and I really loved that. Like I actually loved that. So it was kind of like something I picked up and then I just like couldn't put down because
Cool.
I really like it's the best job ever.
In the world of actually moving into real estate, is that the pretty standard route to go from sort of reception to property management to sales? Like, or have you ever known someone to sort of jump straight into the deep end into sales? Like, is sales also the most complicated part?
I think the best way to do it if you're getting into the industry is to start in property management or in like a sales administration role or something like that, just to get your head around the processes, because it's one of those jobs where on the surface level and on a day-to-day basis, it's probably not that complicated to list and sell houses.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like procedural stuff that you need to know how to do in the background. And if you miss stuff, it's a pretty big deal. So I think having a grounding in a property management role is really, really good. And it kind of also introduces you to a lot of clients and, prospective vendors and things like that for when you do hit into a sales role, because there is a lot of work in prospecting to actually get listings to sell. It's not all sort of rainbows and
sunshine.
Yeah, and that's something really funny because like you do notice that a lot of the time, I think when normal people see agents, they'll either see them online or they'll see them in person at a listing and they're all like, hey, how you going? Yeah, everything's so easy. We're going to sell your house. Everything's going to be great. All right, I'll see you later. I got another booking. And then they don't see them again. And I think I was listening to something recently and they were saying like the boring is where you make all the success.
Yeah, massively.
And so you do all the boring in the background, but people only see the exciting. So they go,
100%.
Real estate agents get it so easy.
And I think people who possibly jump into a sales role kind of come in with the wrong idea that it's, all flashy cars and, whatever. But there's actually a lot of administrative work that you have to do and a lot of consistency that you have to kind of maintain to be able to actually have
and legislation and laws and stuff.
Legislation, all the laws, yeah. Also, like somebody's trusting you with their biggest asset. I mean, there's a fair bit in that as well. So, yeah, it is the best job ever. It's super fun. But I think that having a backing in other areas in real estate is a really good way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Because also you'll have not just like agents, but also clients who know a lot about things. And they'll go, so what's the deed on this? Like, how's this going to fit in with that? Like, where's the water coming from? And if you're fresh, you go,
yeah.
And you have no idea what's going on.
For
So
sure.
having all that backing definitely puts you in a position. It's like learning one thing at a time, right? Like jumping straight into sales, you have a stack of things to learn. Whereas with property management and that route that we've spoken about, I guess you just get those little step ups each way.
Yeah, and I think you learn as well in property management, like some of the sort of task setting, administrative, consistency kind of skills that you need to actually be able to maintain a sales role. Because it is, I mean, in sales, if you don't do the work, you don't get the listings, but no one's, pushing you to, or your sales manager probably is, but no one's kind of at you all the time to do the work. It's just kind of on you. If you don't get the listings, you don't make the sales, you don't make any money.
Yeah, and then your manager just gets rid of you. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you get fired.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like self-determination, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And I think you learn good values in property management as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And on that topic as well, I think something that I've been interested in, I suppose, because my eyes are quite fresh to the industry. But how would, and this is something we were talking about before, how would someone deal with an agent in inverted commas? Like, how do you? Because I think some agents are different to others, and like, how do you find a way to collaborate with them and work together?
Well, the tricky thing is, are you talking about buyers or sellers?
Yeah, buyers, well, both, but more likely.
Are you sort of thinking in terms of framing the question in a way? It's like, how does a buyer pick an agent? Is that sort of where you're going with that?
Yeah,
Luke?
or how does anyone pick an agent?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's a few things that will come into it. So I think that there's a few kind of awards and things you can look at in your area to find out who's doing the business. I mean, following the market, seeing who's doing the business, having a look at sort of your days on market for in particular agents to see who's actually sort of closing deals in a short enough time frame. Your local agent is usually a good way to go. I think and we say it all the time, is people kind of list with a out of town agent or an out of area agent, and the listing stays on the market for like 12 months because it's hard to service. Yeah, when you're not kind of in area. And I think as well, database, there has to be some consideration for the database of the company that you're going with. So for example, our database is enormous. Enormous, like probably 80% of it is people who, have moved on or whatever, but we've got a really good grasp on the community, and, we have contact details for virtually everyone in Jerrabomberra. So it's probably not a bad place to start. Like,
no.
probably not everyone.
But I'm sure personality and vibe comes into it as well.
Oh, yeah. And then, 100%, you have to trust the agent. Like, you have to get on with the agent, somebody you can communicate with. If you connect with that person, I think there's no benefit, I suppose, in going with someone who you're uncomfortable to talk to or you don't feel is going to be delivering the information to you. So yeah, that's a major consideration. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I feel like it's almost like the photographer at a wedding. You have to be friends with them.
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're floating around all day. Like.
Yeah, they're with you. They're with you more than your like significant other is during the day.
Yeah,
because you've got like 8 hours roughly of them, and they're with you like when you're getting changed, when you're like getting ready, when like the people are coming. So
100%.
I heard this the other day just about that, and I thought about it. I was like, oh my god, that's such a good point.
That is actually a really good analogy. I think it's a very similar vibe because they're basically going to be, on the phone to you 3 times a week for the next 40 days.
Yeah. They're going to be sort of in your pocket.
Can you cop that?
Yeah, and they're going to be like your champion in a sense, which I think is like.
And going back to that sort of biggest asset, like a lot of people forget that buy and sell a property for the most average Joe in the street, that this is the biggest asset, and entrusting the right person to make sure that they've got your best interests at heart and your situation understood, to know that this agent is going to be the best representation of you. And then the next question is, why go with an agent as opposed to trying to do it yourself? Because a lot of people, obviously there's options out there now to do it yourself.
Oh. Don't sell your house. If you're planning on doing that, Pat, I can help you out, all right?
Okay.
We'll give you a good rate. No, just kidding. No, well, it all comes back to that database. Like, I mean, if you were trying to sell your own property, like, for example, at the moment, our inquiry level is fairly kind of low. So people are attending open homes, but then you have to actually be able to convert them. And there's a little bit of work in that as well, with sort of negotiation tactics and, sales strategies and things like that. So it's not an easy process. And it comes back to as well sort of compliance, legislation, all that type of stuff that you have to be up to scratch on, because it is a really kind of detailed process behind the scenes. So if you were looking at selling property yourself, you are at a loss because you're missing out on, say if it was in Jerrabomberra, a whole database of people looking to buy and sell in Jerrabomberra. So they can't contact them. Like a lot of our sales, I'd say maybe 30% can be done directly through the database without going live. So
talk to me about that, this going live, because it's something I know you guys do quite a lot that I know a lot of other agencies don't do. The benefits of off the market, as it were, sort of selling your property. How does that process actually work?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've just come through the most fluid marketplace, I think, probably the market seen in a really long time, through COVID, coming out of COVID, interest rate hikes, everything that's going on. I think buyers are a little bit nervous, confidence levels are fairly kind of low. Having a property listed now using the data for the past 6 or 12 months is possibly, in a lot of cases, not actually accurate data, because the market has kind of shifted. It's hyper.
The curve is inflated.
It's shifted a little bit. And I think that obviously we want to get the best possible number, but there's no benefit in listing a property too high because people don't turn up. And your first week or two is your kind of prime time for people turning up to open homes and, being able to actually convert a deal. So the reason that we run an off-market campaign initially, in some cases or most cases, is to get buyer feedback. So we've got sort of qualified people who've sold properties, or we know they've got the cash to purchase, that we'll take through initially and show them. Obviously, hopefully they love it and they put in a really awesome offer, but in some cases they don't. They just provide market feedback so that we can provide that for our vendor. So when we go to market, we're listing at the right price, not too high or too low, and that's based off actual real-time market data. So we might take 5 or 10 people through before we actually go live. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, and as this,
It's like a trial almost.
Yeah, kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then so this is all just people from your database. You literally email and phone call these people. Say, I've got a property in Jarrah or wherever. Come check it out.
Well, at any one time, I probably am working with sort of 20 people who need to buy for some reason, or
Right,
like they've
okay.
sold a property or whatever, or investors who've been looking for a while, that I've got on the books that I kind of regularly talk to. So I'll say to them, I've got this property coming up. Why don't you come through off market, have a look? It might even be a vendor for an upcoming listing that's similar. They can give me some pricing feedback. It's basically just it's like a preliminary kind of trial period, I suppose, but it does just give us really good data to use for when we go live.
That's really handy as well, because you not only are you market testing essentially, but you're also offering people the opportunity off market.
Yeah.
And I think people love off market.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, oh, off market, cool, but
And it creates this sort of secrecy and sort of exclusivity.
They're like, it's my gang.
yeah.
And you can offer your vendors for prospective upcoming listings as well, like an extra service, getting them through similar properties. So, my opinion is XYZ, but there's no recommended retail price on a home. So why don't you come and have a look at this one? Tell me what you think this is worth. We think it's semi-comparable to yours. It's just it adds extra
it helps.
services.
It's like a round circle. Yeah. It
Yeah.
helps everybody.
It sounds very community based, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
is
and
nice.
it's just value adding, I suppose, for our database and for our sort of prospective vendors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and going back to it's definitely not all roses being a real estate agent.
No.
Yeah.
That sounds like a logistical nightmare. Your phone must be buzzing all the time with texts and phone
Yeah,
calls.
it is.
Yeah.
But it's great.
No wonder it's hard to get a hold of you. You'd be like, Lucy's not answering her phone again.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like,
Oh, please.
it's like, well, Lucy's busy, Luke. Okay. Yeah. She has other people that she talks to in her life.
I
Yeah.
always answer the phone. I just didn't
Yeah.
back in the day. Sorry about that.
That's so funny. So this is the first time we've had an agent on, and I guess in some ways you could easily just turn it into a thing about agents and kind of make it boring. But I kind of wanted to ask a few personal questions
Okay.
because I think it's nice having not too personal, just in terms of your experience.
Yeah.
How is it that you've experienced kind of getting started and working up? Like if you were to give yourself 8 years ago some advice, or someone who's just starting out, someone who's fresh, doesn't really know what they're doing, who might be listening or something, how would you explain things or help them or guide them?
I think I was really, really lucky. I knew when I moved to McNamee's, I knew I was in the right place because of the people that I worked with, and the managers within the office and directors within the office were supportive and wanted me to do well, which was really nice to have. But I think if I was giving anyone advice coming into the industry, I think is don't assume that don't assume that where you're at's where you have to be. I think just, try and work above what you're doing always. And I think if you just keep kind of aiming higher and you're not getting there, I think that you need to make changes to make that happen. And whether or not that's leaving that particular business, if they're not doing you any sort of justice and you think you're, working hard enough. Not to say I'm a serial monogamous in company wise, is that not the right word?
Yeah.
I've been at
term,
McNamee's
but-
forever. I'm never leaving. Sorry guys to McNamee's, but I just think if people can't see your potential, you really need to be working with people who do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you need to be working on your potential.
Yeah,
If people
or
can't see
work
it.
harder because there's a lot of people as well who probably aren't working to their full potential either. And I think real estate's one of those games where it's hustle culture.
Yeah, I was
you
gonna say
have
it's
to
cutthroat.
Yeah,
And,
it's cutthroat, and there will
Hustle
be
culture
people
is-
working harder than you. So
Hustle culture is a really good way of putting it. And I was talking to an agent recently, and he was sort of saying, people are dropping out. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's a bit of a mass exodus of agents recently in terms of the the real estate game. Do you have any idea why?
Well, I think during COVID, there were a few agents come in, and it was really easy.
I was going to say they all were riding this wave.
Yeah.
You just put a market on the market, a property on the market, give a number, and anyone would actually buy that.
You list and sell. Like if it's on the market, it's sold for 200K over.
Yeah,
like there's no questions. It was the best thing ever.
Wow.
Honestly, give me that a million times over, like 100%. But I think coming out of COVID, we've come into probably one of the harder markets that we've had in a long time. So, a couple of interest rate hikes, all these types of things, which are a little bit more challenging. Less listings, which are actually available as well. So a lot of people working on, sort of commission-only salaries and things like that need a certain amount to, sustain their lifestyle. It's just not sustainable. I think if you're not getting the listings, and obviously the market share is probably, going to possibly other people. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Do you think? I guess like it'll all filter out, and it's sort of survival of the fittest, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I think, the long-standing kind of businesses, I think, are going to be fine. Like, obviously, McNamee's, we're not going anywhere. So.
Yeah, but it's also back to what you just said. It's all about that hustle. It's sort of like if you're actively being a real estate agent isn't the glamour sort of like Lux listing shows make it out to be. There is so much hard work in actually, contacting people every day, making sure that the 20 people that you have running at any one time have got all the information at any one given time. And that's what separates a normal person from a real estate agent who is successful, I think, in my opinion anyway. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's the level of service you actually provide to those people, because anyone can send out documents, but it's about follow-up and, giving really detailed information and, access to properties, things like that, which you have to be kind of on the ball all the time. Like it's not a 8-hour-a-day job. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 7 days a week job. And you just have to be able to do that.
And you get the occasional break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I?
Yeah.
I've heard of you taking vacations. You've got one planned coming up. So
yes, thank God.
Don't
I'm
lie.
so excited. Okay, fair enough.
It's hard work. Hard work pays off, obviously.
Yeah.
So
sure.
So there's always this, at least when I was growing up as a kid, there was this kind of misconception that used car salesmen and real estate agents were the most sleaziest people on the earth because, they'd sell you, you'd sell your grandmother out from underneath you sort of thing. Is that still the case in the real estate sort of world now or no?
A lot of the time, yes.
Really?
Really?
I think, hang on, I won't bag anyone, but I think that, again,
it
comes down to
picking... black book? You can tell us who they are?
It comes down to picking your agent. Like, I think that there are still a few agents out there who work on, like, old school, tactics and things like that, which is fine. And obviously, if that's working for them, that's okay. But I think that buyers now with technology like Facebook and Instagram and All Homes and all that type of thing have so much information that I don't think those tactics work as well as they might have in the past. Like even negotiating these days, like you can Google a property and find out what it's worth on Domain in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So, like people have that information up front. So it's more about being able to provide enough detail that you can actually come to a sort of mutually agreed determination.
The buying and selling processes changed or shifted the culture in the way that it works now. It's sort of everyone has become more... You're getting buyers that are a lot more aware of their surroundings and aware of their market and have already done their homework before even seeing an agent. Yeah. So you need to obviously keep up with that to make sure that you're on top of the answers that you give back to them.
Yeah, obviously. Absolutely. Like I think back in the day, probably without, all the technology we have these days, you rely on the agent to have the information to give to you. And these days it's just not like that. Like I think as a buyer and having, bought in the past, it's all available. Like everything's online. Yeah. So it's more about being able to collaborate with an agent that you trust to actually get you across the line on both sides of a transaction. So vendor and purchaser. Yeah.
Do you find that you're in a position where you're having to keep up with one of your clients? Like someone who's like really on it, has sold and bought loads of houses, and you're like, damn, I'm like...
Oh, yeah. For sure. There's people, a lot of buyers these days are really kind of clued in. So I think I'm usually a little bit above.
Well, I'd hope so.
Usually. But yeah, it is. There's sometimes, people come in with a really good knowledge backing of real estate and real estate transactions, which is always good. So challenging sometimes.
Well, it's funny as well because you get some people who end up, they've done that in the past, but they haven't been in the market for a long time. Like, I feel like my mum's a good example of this. She's so confident in her abilities to like buy and sell real estate, And I'm just like, you haven't done that for a while.
I
was like, I don't know, like
my dad's kind of the same, but my dad has
it's a bit of overconfidence, is that?
Well,
maybe?
no, he's not overconfident. He knows his shit. Like
Right,
he's
okay.
he's on the ball. He
He's
even
one
has-
of our challenging ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry if you're listening to
no,
this.
no.
Sorry, Dad. Yeah.
No, but it's sort of
I'm
like
only
you have those different realms and sort of how to deal with each type of client at any one given situation.
Well, I guess the psychology would have helped.
No, but he's awesome. Like
Yeah.
he literally knows what he's doing. Like he comes in, he's got his tool belt, his torch, his
Does he
sort of
sleep in that?
measuring.
No, he doesn't.
I swear to God, I've not
but
seen
you
him
know,
in anything else.
From an agent standpoint, I go, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Like,
Which is
you
a
know.
good thing. It means that you know that you're on the
Yeah.
right person. And,
Exactly.
And that's what I'm talking about. Buyers that have actually done their research. It's sort of like, okay, my dad's done his research.
Yeah.
He knows what he's looking for and wants to just cross check a couple of things. And he's ready to be on, to put money on the line
Yeah.
if it ticks all these boxes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because it's just it's a even kind of conversation. Yeah, like yeah.
Is
That's
that your
awesome.
favorite kind of a client? Like, what would be your ideal client?
I mean, I love first home buyers because it's so emotional, and there's a lot of
They're so excited, and the
there's-
butterflies and everything, yeah.
And,
Make a
and
connection.
that was like when I started doing sales, that was the thing I loved the most because it's just so like you get all the
Humbling.
kind of serotonin from like popping the bottle of champagne
cool.
and everyone's crying and I'm crying and it's just like it's the best. Or an auction, like oh my gosh, it's too much. But that type of feeling is just like unreal. It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
Yeah.
My brain was just going to like, there's people who know a lot and people who don't know a lot. And
Or people that just have money and just
People who just
want
have
to
money
throw it at
and-
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I think you build a bit of a relationship with your clients
Yeah.
too. Like
you would you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but like first home buyers, I become a little bit like, oh no, don't look at that, look at this, like
Yeah.
it becomes a bit emotional. I feel like they're my little buyers.
It's sort of
My Little Buyers. Why does it? It's like My Little Pony. Can we
Yeah.
can we make a Photoshop that's
Something.
just like My Little Buyers and it's
Yeah.
like Lucy and three people
That
like
sounds
just all in a
terrifying.
house. My Little Buyers, my
no,
little
stop,
buyers.
Lee.
Okay.
Talking about the different options we have for selling a property. Obviously, you've got auctions, private treaties. What else have we got?
Okay. So we're an auction agency at McNamee. So mostly we run auctions, or we have up until probably fairly recently. The market softened a little bit, so private treaty kind of options are a little bit easier. I won't go into the details because it'll probably bore your listeners. But then there's like expressions of interest by negotiation. There's a lot of different ways that you can run it depending on the property, depending on the price guide. I think. It's really kind of relative to what you're putting on the market, I think. Yeah.
And is a marketing strategy different for each type of sale, or is it fundamentally the same?
Yeah, look, I mean, you would expect in most cases that your private treaty contract would be probably fairly standard. A lot of people do auctions, some don't. Reason being, I suppose that a lot of buyers don't like going to auctions, and having to unconditionally exchange can be a little bit kind of nerve-wracking for people because you don't have a cooling off period. Again, I won't go into too much detail. Here I am going into too much detail.
No, that makes sense.
But the private treaty contract is your kind of stock standard, 10 days to run your due diligence, and then obviously exchange a contract after that with a settlement period.
So talk to me about auction, because it sounds like a lot of the industry is going down this auction route. Now we have another one of our clients in Goulburn, and they do is auctions,
Yeah.
and it's like every 2 weeks they're running auctions on everything. Why is auctions so important and so good?
Well, I don't want to spill too many of our secrets, but I will. Not dissimilar to how we run like off-market campaigns prior to launching. Sometimes an auction's a good way to get feedback as well. In the
Okay.
first couple of weeks, you don't have to disclose a price. So we provide comparables of similar properties that recently sold in that kind of range or size or whatever. And we get feedback from the marketplace to provide to our vendor. So if somebody comes in with a really good number, we can sort of work with them to unconditionally exchange a contract prior to the auction. But you haven't kind of shot too high or too low with the pricing initially.
So your methodology is basically, as soon as they've walked out or as they're walking out, you go, what do you think this property's worth?
Yeah.
And let them determine the number.
100%. So on site on the day, usually I'll try and make a bit of a relationship with the client, ask some basic questions, pre-qualifying, have you bought or will you need to sell something? Where are you currently, et cetera, et cetera. On a Monday, Tuesday, I call everyone back and I ask about pricing feedback. I ask about feedback on the house. I ask again whether they need to sell their house because I would like to do that. And then basically just sort of pre-qualify them further if they are interested. So find out, are they pre-proof of finance? Can I contact your finance person? All that type of stuff, just to make sure that they're in a position to actually accurately or, properly present an offer. Yeah.
And so that by doing that so it's A, determining where the market is and what the range of price you reckon is going to be when it goes to auction.
Yeah.
And then the other factor that could happen is it creates this urgency as well, doesn't it? Because you've got 4 weeks until it's sort of the auction is going to happen, but a person could make a great offer any time up until then, and then that auction is basically the last resort, and sort of like it'll most likely sell, most in inverted commas, likely sell when it gets to auction.
But I guess what it means is when we're talking to our vendor, a week in, we've got 5 people saying it's $500,000 and one person saying it's 570. We go, let's work with that guy, get that on a contract, and try and exchange that prior to the auction. But if you do have a few people in a similar range, you might recommend also possibly going to auction if you think that there's sort of competitive sort of tension within the marketplace. Yep.
Yeah. So in terms of marketing, what would you, in terms of imaging and floor plans and video and stuff, how would you, like, I know the answer to this, but I want you to tell me.
You don't know.
Awkward.
Well,
Can we pay you for that?
Yeah. What's a typical sort of strategy to get it to auction and that sort of thing?
Well, the thing about an auction is that because it's such a condensed time frame, so like our days on market's probably about 45 days because we run a lot of auctions, you need that marketing to be really, 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 really good in the first, the whole campaign, but in the first week or two when it hits the market that people are seeing it and going like, wow, I need to go look at that. I can't put it off for 2 weeks or whatever. So what we do, and we work with you guys, is we get our sort of photography set, we get a video done, we get a floor plan done, and then we boost it on all of the websites because we think it's important, obviously, to get as much kind of reach as possible to get as many people there as possible. Yeah.
And with that marketing, what makes a good listing? What is it? Good photography? Is it a good video? Is it a wow factor in the ad copy? What is there any one thing?
I don't think anyone reads ad copy anymore.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there.
Can we just delete ad copy for that forever?
I think
that would be great.
People look at the photos and the video, and I think that came out of COVID as well. Is like people love the visual stuff. So I think having a really good set of photos, and what I really like about your guys' photos is that they are really contrasted, separate to others on the market with other agents. So it actually does stand out on the list.
So going into that hero shot, so actually having a good hero shot that makes that wow factor as you're scrolling through, because you're one of thousands of listings on the site, and what makes your photo jump out of the page.
Yeah, I want a photo where you're like, I cannot scroll past this.
Yes,
I need to see what that is. And
my wife Claire does it all the time. She's sort of the only reason she looks at listings is because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like, sometimes I think people don't get the contrast quite right, but it needs to just look like impressive. And I think, like depending on the property, you can still make a property which isn't that impressive look really good through some photography, and getting people there and being able to speak with them on site is then what helps us to transact. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's getting across them. And
I shouldn't say.
No. And let's not get this wrong. We're not trying to deceive anybody in any stretch of the imagination.
That's what I was trying to.
No, we're definitely not trying to do that. We're just trying to, what is it? Put lipstick on a pig a little bit. Or
that's a great way of putting it, Pat. Good job. Let's keep that in.
In its best light. We're showing the property
in its best light. And sometimes not all properties are going to be that north-facing, beautiful, light one. So how does a property that isn't going to necessarily in a normal market stand out, make it stand out? And being creative with a marketing company that understand what's the most important feature in a property, and what and understanding the audience, I think, is also very important too. Understanding if it's a first homeowner, or is it an investor type of property, or is it a mum and dad type of property. Understanding each one of those audiences is key to the success through the hero and through the marketing campaign itself.
Massively.
And I think it's also it's about demonstrating its potential. That's the way that I see it. So you look at a house that's a knockdown or whatever it is. You're telling people it's a knockdown. You're not going to drag them in and pretend it's like a mansion.
Yeah.
You do have to be realistic at some point.
100%.
So
I'm like, this is a knockdown. And then I want the marketing to be emphasizing that because of the potential that you could, rebuild or renovate or whatever.
Look at the block size, or look at the potential that you can actually create with it.
Exactly. And I think again, something you guys do really well. So thank you.
Awesome.
And even on the flip side of that as well, look at places that are already mansionous and beautiful. You look at those, and again, you are showing and demonstrating its potential. It's like, okay, this is a house, that will have multiple bedrooms with different people and families, and you'll have some people are looking for that sort of status house or that dream house. And again, that's kind of the direction that you take. So it's never lying; it's always just about demonstrating that potential which I think definitely resonates with people, and I think that's why people will stop and click and go, "Ooh, I want to know about that," because people don't want to feel like they're lied to. They'll know real quick.
Yeah.
No, but I get feedback a lot about, and I ask people about this type of stuff as well, but like the photography is accurate to the property. Like a lot of the time you get people with those really wide lenses and it's like the room looks like really, really, really big, but
there's a couple of suppliers around town that I know still do that. You're like, you can't do that. It's a bit deceptive. So
you're just wasting your client's time.
We had a stylist, Stage by Flynn, on really recently, and I'd love to hear from your perspective why styling is so important for properties. Why would you guys use styling?
Well, so this is another thing we never used to do. And we did start doing it. Well, we kind of started doing it probably, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And we'd just do the odd property. And it was kind of like, again, one of those snowball things where we started to realize like the feedback in the property was always better. The property's always sold faster. And the marketing is better because you've got, better photos because the property's styled. And again, in like an auction campaign, having that really kind of right at the start is so important. Plus your return on investment's insane. Like the difference that we get on a styled property.
So you can really tell the difference. Because I always go, no, they can't, they're just making up numbers here. But no, there's actually stats to back that up.
It's kind of like if you walk through an open home for 2 different properties and one of them's styled and one of them's not, and 10 people walk through and everyone's going, oh, wow, this looks great. The vibe in the open home is kind of a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Like infectious? I guess people kind of pick up on each other's vibes, which builds a little bit of competition. And then the feedback that we're getting, we're talking to people are saying it looks really awesome. I think that we do see they sell for more and we do see they sell quicker. And I use Design 2619 in Jerrabumba, and she is the best.
They are pretty awesome.
She's the best.
So
you guys have seen them before.
Obviously we've seen them before. Yeah, they do a really good job.
We photographed a few of them.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I had was the reason. So you guys will obviously you prefer auctions. You're an auction house.
Yep.
Is that why there's a bit of a like rush to market, because you sort of set a date and then you kind of want to go, you want to yell from the rooftop about a property and then you kind of want to get the buyers in within those 45 days and like go for gold? Is that the sort of reason for the...
Or is it because people are just picky and just want to get it on the market?
Is it because someone somewhere...
It's probably a bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's like someone somewhere is impatient and has set the standard for everyone, or there's a real reason for it.
It's not us.
No, it's not you at all. It's like we find like a lot of agencies like we need to be live by this day.
I think it's just disorganization.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Like, I mean, depend. Like, usually, when I meet with a vendor at the start of a campaign, I'm like, okay, so the contract's going to take 2 weeks. We're going to have, a month off the market. Then we're going to work off these dates, like X, Y, Z. It's never set in stone, but you've got a pretty good idea. So, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not sure. Hopefully, we're not usually.
No. It's every client is exactly the same. Everyone wants to rush and do it. And 9 times out of 10, we can make it happen. But
like next day turnaround times for photography and videography it's a lot to ask. It's depending on like who you employ. Awesome. So and like Pat's worked really, really hard on being able to provide that because he clearly has seen something in the market that demonstrates that need, and he's filled that need really, really well.
We couldn't work with a photographer who couldn't do that. Like and being able to book on the day or book the day before or whatever, like that's so important to what we do, because there are a lot of times, and I know I just said we never do this, but that you have to move things pretty quickly, like get photos on a Wednesday, launch on a Thursday. It's all pretty kind of.
So is it the client that sets that expectation, or is it the agent who knows that if we get it on by this time that it's going to create momentum?
It might just be that you're not getting traction off market and you've just made a split second decision, or maybe maybe you're not running an off market campaign but you've been waiting for a contract and the contract comes in and it came in sooner than you thought or whatever. But
okay, so those are some of the factors. It's like contract, it's another reason because of, like you said, there's the traction's not going that way, or people's finances, they need to sell because they've got something else to finance too.
Well, maybe they've bought something and we just have to kind of make it line up. So
cool. There you go, Luke. That's finally we have an answer to that question.
I finally have an answer to that.
First, yes.
I was like, I need to ask Lucy this. This is going to kill me. That's so funny. So partly I guess in some respects, just some clients, come on board with you, and then these hurdles start to come up, and then all of a sudden, from the start that they've like had a meeting with you, from the actual moment that their listing goes up, it's been like 3 or 4 weeks because of all these like extra little hurdles?
Sometimes, but we've got like a pretty good system in our office that like we've got, Bree, she's our sort of sales admin. Yeah, she's awesome. So she is kind of our scheduler, makes sure everything's on time, works in with the vendor, works in with any tenants.
Works in with us.
Which is pretty good. So works in with you guys, which would be really hard. So no, so it's not too bad usually, but sometimes, there's the odd thing that, you have to kind of tick off before you can get it live. So
then on that ongoing live, is there a day of the week that is the best day to go live?
Wednesdays and Thursdays get the most traffic. So
and that's just
interesting
from stats from all homes.
Yeah, that's right. So that's correct. So
okay.
And usually I think that's probably just the perfect amount of time for people to see it before the weekend, but not have forgotten about it to actually attend the open home on Saturday.
Yeah, and also not have to make like last minute changes to plans or something.
Yeah,
and be able to
exactly.
actually get them and see it. It's on there. Maybe we should go and see it. Oh, we can move this because it's 2 days away.
Yeah, they've got time to work it
I
all
would have
out.
thought it would be Fridays. Like when I was looking for property, it was Friday afternoon was when we were looking of that week's one of what we're going to make the plans for the weekend. Because you got to remember when you're in the stage of buying a house, you've got to set aside your life to actually go to all these open homes, and it's like back to back like appointments to checking out 10, 15 different properties on a Saturday open home.
I actually read like a realestate.com article recently, and it's like how to be a buyer, and you've got to like pack water, pack snacks, like have like organize a lunch break, like all this type of stuff. It's pretty hectic.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you're being heckled by real estate agents all day.
So you're looking to buy? You're looking to buy? You're looking to buy?
Yeah, I know.
And actually, funnily,
I never thought about it. I was like, I thought that'd be easy. It's like just fun, but it's not. It's like busy.
Yeah.
Driving. Yeah. Stop for petrol. Oh.
So all you have to do is open the door and turn the lights on.
That's all I've got to do.
They've got 20 other appointments.
I love that.
Yeah.
And actually, on that note, we were talking about this earlier off air that you were saying, like the selling is the hardest part. And now recently, you've been in a position where after the sell, you've had to be doing some work, and you've realized it's harder, possibly.
Yeah, so my parents have just bought a property in Canberra. They've just sold theirs, which again was the hardest part because I had to do it. But they
was that your childhood home?
Yeah, that was my childhood home.
Yeah.
And now they've moved, and it was a little bit reluctant, but I've kind of pushed them out the door because that's my job and what I have to do. So that's all right.
Yeah.
But I've realised since then, so since the exchange, when usually I just let my buyers go and do whatever they do, we've had to organise removalists, we've had to organise painting, carpeting, we've had to do all this stuff, which I'm just like...
30 years worth of stuff you've got to put somewhere.
This is I didn't realise there was actually like hard work to do after a sale. I shouldn't say. No, but
you hand off, you go, yeah, okay, bye.
Yeah,
And then,
it's like that. I'm like, wow, that was hard.
Yeah.
Not really. But now I'm like, it's kind of opened my eyes because I'm like, the amount of work I've done to help my parents in this scenario is like above and beyond anything I'd do or had done in the past. So I'm like, how do I like incorporate that into all of my buyers and all of my vendors? Like,
And how can you, through the process, how can you help make that process easier on the tail
exactly.
end of it?
Yeah, 100%.
That's a nice way of looking at it. I think some people could just look at it and go, well, that sucked. Let's move on. Whereas you're like, how can I be better with my clients? I like that.
It's a
nice
lot
way
of
looking at it.
work. Like, it's been a full-time job trying to bloody organise everything for them.
Yeah.
But see, could that be another point of difference from you guys? Could you offer sort of like removalist service and cleaners service and have like a database of suppliers that could help after that sort of
I reckon.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Marketing Pat, as always, Mr.
How much
Magic.
for that advice?
Yeah. It'll cost you. Yeah. That's so funny.
Oh yeah, no, it was really kind of eye opening. I just hadn't really considered it because people always say, buying and selling is the most stressful thing you can do, right? But I'm like, in my head, and I know that's really kind of ignorant, but I just had thought they meant like just literally the sales transaction. I'm like, it's not that bad.
I think
like when you're working with me, it's fine.
Yeah.
the places that you got to do them up, I guess.
Like it is really hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why you need a good agent.
Oh, there it is. Gonna bring it back to zero. And another really important question that I am dying to have answered, and I think multiple people can answer this question. In the real estate industry, amongst real estate professionals, there is a massive clique. Like there's a lot of competitiveness, and not everyone gets along. You see each other at auction things. You're like, yeah, hi, what's up? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm coming for you. There's this kind of weird competition between agents. why necessarily is that? Like, I get it on the baseline of like, oh, like all our clients are, we get each other's and all that. And there is a base of competition, but is it really a zero-sum game?
I don't get it, honestly. I like, there are some really beautiful people in the industry who are just like really positive and really nice. Like, I received a message this morning from one of the girls at Johnny Warren Properties, just being like, you're doing really well. Like, hope you're
nice is
okay.
that?
I know.
That's so nice.
And so like, I just don't see that there's any reason to, like, if you're in your own lane, there's no reason for you to put negativity into somebody else's. Like,
100%.
I don't get that at all. And I think if everyone was just more positive and worked together, everyone's doing all right anyway. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
And the same with any industry. I think you've got, there's enough of the piece of the pie to go around for everybody. You're doing everybody a disservice by putting each other down.
yeah.
Basically.
And do you know what? People who do bag people in our industry end up on the wrong foot anyway, because people hear about it. And if
Yeah.
you're somebody who does that, like, it doesn't put you in a good light with vendors. It doesn't put you, in a small community like Jera or Googong
Canberra.
or yeah.
Canberra's small enough, yeah.
Yeah, like I hear it all the time. Like, vendors are like, I wouldn't use this person because they did X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why would you do it in the first place? Like,
Yeah.
who could be bothered?
Yeah, and like word spreads fast as well. Like, you're not going
Yeah.
to get away with much.
Oh, in Queanbeyan and Jera, Googong, it's like, you can't get away with anything.
Everybody knows
I won't
everybody. Yeah.
It's so funny. It's like keeping up with the Joneses. Just
Yeah.
like all that spread.
Yeah.
Although my wife Claire always jokes about wanting to do the Real Housewives of Googong, and she
Ooh.
would star in the show of Real Housewives of Googong.
Well, of course, it's her show.
Amazing. She should do it.
and you'd be part of the Real Housewives of Queanbeyan, and she'd be on the other.
I
episode.
don't have a husband.
Oh well, there you
If
go.
there's any
You'd be
hotties out
the
there.
six.
I'm just kidding.
If there are any hotties listening, please contact Lucy McGregor at Ian McNamee.
Oh,
Please
no.
don't. She is very busy.
No, that would be so iconic. I think because Googong has such like a community vibe. Like, yeah. Or that, like, selling Googong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of selling
Yeah,
sunset,
selling
selling
Googong.
Doesn't quite sound as good though.
No, it
does it?
doesn't. No.
Selling
I like
Googong
it.
just sounds like an animal trade somewhere in the South Pacific,
Yeah.
Selling Googongs.
Interesting.
So, any questions that you want to ask about from us, even like anything on the mind?
I don't have any questions because you guys are very good with your communication. So I've basically had all of my questions of all time answered. But I would just like to say thank you to you guys
Thank you.
because you are an essential part of our business. And without your marketing, we would still be in the ice age.
In the dark
I
ages.
should stop bagging us.
No, it's fine.
Well, thank you, and thank you for coming out, Lucy. It's been great fun to talk to an agent, because usually we find suppliers and other people that are in our industry, but to actually talk to our clients and their perspective of what they do with us is really insightful, and obviously, like what you do, sort of gauging the market and seeing how we can all move forward together and help each other out. So yeah, awesome.
Hopefully it hasn't been too much boring real estate
No, it's
mumbo
been
jumbo.
interesting. It's been interesting. It's fine. You're all good.
Good.
Well, thanks for coming, Lucy.
Thank you.
Sweet. Thanks, everybody.